Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to this Standard Imaging webinar. My name is Andrea Zenz. I am one of the product managers here at Standard Imaging, responsible for multiple product lines, including our software as a service product, QA Pilot, with Pips Pro Autopilot for automated image QA. Before we get started, just please note that this webinar is being recorded and will be available on our website shortly. Everyone is in listen-only mode, so if you have any questions, please type them into the question box on your console, and I will address those at the end. Now, on to the presentation. For those of you looking for more automation in your QA routines, we're happy to announce that QA Pilot with Pips Pro Autopilot has landed so that you can do QA your way. QA Pilot with Pips Pro Autopilot provides all the tools needed to easily increase efficiency, security, compliance, and accountability, which are hugely beneficial to users. It is a truly vendor-neutral solution, which is also a great benefit to users, as it means that they do not need to replace their current QA devices in order to use this powerful QA management software. And note that vendor neutrality for QA Pilot with Pips Pro Autopilot extends to more than just Linux manufacturers, but also to QA device manufacturers as well. This software is provided as software as a service model, which offers instant benefits to the user, including lower entry costs, as there are no large initial capital investments, lower maintenance costs thanks to a minimal local footprint and automatic software updates, lower hardware costs since the service is delivered via a web browser, thus eliminating the need for expensive specialized hardware, and scalability. Grow your QA platform as your organization grows. Using QA Pilot with Pips Pro Autopilot is made simple with menus, dashboard views, and customization features so users see what is applicable to them in their roles. From a therapist's view of their QA schedules for specific machines, to the chief physicist who will have oversight of all the sites and machines under their responsibility. Features like Collapse All and Expand All, various filters, colors, and worded alerts and warnings allow users to navigate quickly to what's important to them. It is important to note that QA Pilot with Pips Pro Autopilot isn't simply about performing and reviewing QA schedules, but there are plenty of features that increase effective communication and process improvement for the department as a whole. Documents of all types can be uploaded, stored, and shared within QA Pilot. Machine logs and ILS logs are used to track a variety of items of concern for the radiation therapy department, and analysis allows those responsible to compare trends across sites and machines for specific tests. Now I'd like to spend a moment telling you more about the new add-on feature to QA Pilot, Pips Pro Autopilot, which allows users to take advantage of our automated analysis of image-based tests. For your TG142 imager and machine QA, Pips Pro Autopilot will automatically analyze uploaded image files and display the results in the assigned TG142 schedule. No manipulation of images is required, no need to mark fiducials, no need to define analysis regions. It's all done automatically. As with QA Pilot generally, it is incredibly easy to create customized QA schedules that include Pips Pro Autopilot image-based tests through template management. We offer a number of preset templates as a starting point from which you can create copies and modify to suit your needs. Or you can add the newly available image-based test to one of your existing QA templates or schedules. An icon indicates image-based tests within the available test section of template management. As with QA Pilot, we enable you to take control of your workflow. Once tests by individual or group section have been chosen for a particular QA template, simply reorder them by section or individual tests so that the schedule follows your clinical workflow. Once your QA schedule is set, simply drag and drop your images into the template for analysis. The images, test results, and trended data are automatically added to your database in the cloud. Monthly QA is often done throughout the month, which is very nicely supported by Pips Pro Autopilot. Summary results for each test section are displayed, so you know immediately when something needs further investigation. Click on the incomplete tests noted in the report to go straight to those sections to pick up where you left off. So now let's go take a look at what this looks like in the software itself. So let's get there. Oh, where's my QA Pilot? Hang on. Let's go to the software instead of the webinar connection. So here I am in QA Pilot with Pips Pro Autopilot. I'm going to just do a very light touch on a variety of items within here. It is, of course, I'm available as well as your sales reps to go into more detail in an individual webinar. So like I said, we have collapse all or expand all. Right now, everything is collapsed. We're on the schedule page, which is what people who are looking at the software on a daily basis are going to be concerned with. They're either reviewing it, performing it, or they're going to be reviewing it. But we start here. So let's take a look by simply clicking on the center name to see what tests are here. For our daily QA, we can simply go here. It has been started for the day. You'll see that it is in progress. And you see in the summary results here what has been performed, what hasn't been performed. So let's go over to this one. I've skipped that one, apparently. So at this point, maybe you realize that for today, you don't have any patients planned that involve a virtual wedge. So are you going to skip this test? You can do it by clicking not available, in which case it's just going to mark the test. It's not going to be an open circle, which means undone, but it's not going to apply to this QA schedule today. Now let's skip down to the mechanical, just click pass, and now we see that we've completed our QA for the day. We have choices here. We can save it and or finalize it. As a therapist, they would save it. As a physicist, they may go ahead and typically it'll be saved and then it'll be finalized by somebody else. If you're at any point you get interrupted in a schedule, of course, that's when you just save it. I've done everything, so I can finalize it. If I want to make any comments, I can do that here. That is a wonderful thing about the software. You can make comments in all kinds of places and attach documents in all kinds of places in order to support the work that you're doing and to facilitate that communication between the person who is performing the QA and the people who are signing off on it. So you can make QA comments here. Notice on the tests, which are a little bit grayed out here now, each test has a point at which you can add a comment as well. We'll just go ahead and finalize it. And you'll see that then brings you up to the report so it can be reviewed in detail. On a daily basis, the therapist will go in and perform their schedules, but as a physicist, you're likely to go into the review page first. Again, a nice, wonderful summary of things that are going on in your department. What is the status of my QA? Something's happened here. Well, don't look at the dates too much because I am obviously not a good physicist, but this is demo purposes only. Of course, if there's an action item, you're going to want to click on it and see what it is. If it's in progress, you can continue it here. If it passes, that is great. Machine logs is something where you can track not only what's going on with your LINAC, but you can also track your your physics server. You could track your individual QA devices that may be sent in for service, or maybe you have a short-term project and you need to assign things to people and you want to track its progress. All of those things can be done in machine logs, and a summary of outstanding machine logs will be included on the review page. As for equipment, anything that has an upcoming task that is due within the 30 days or less will appear here. In fact, it might be even less than that, but 30 days or less. And those that are overdue, shame on me again, bad physicist here, tasks that are overdue are highlighted in red. You can simply click on any one of those to go in and look at it and what's going on. Provide an update if needed. This took us straight here and the task when it was created and what needs to be done. Just so you know, that's what can happen on the review page. Now, I mentioned that there are several things that help the department understand what's going on department-wide, or things that you need to communicate department-wide, or to specific sites within an organization, or to specific individuals. One of those places that you can do that is here in Documents. So it can be image files, it can be PDFs, it can be spreadsheets, it can be any type of thing that you need to put in here. You can give them different types, policies, procedures, instructions, anything like that that you need to categorize them. Again, you can sort on these things going forward. As you see up here, we have, as I mentioned earlier, filters so that you can look at things by site, by specific machine, or even type. Now, for procedures, oftentimes there are updates. This is part of your process improvement plan, right? We need to update procedures to make sure that they're following current regulations or recommendations. And if you do that, you can give it a new version number. By going in here and describing all of those things and to which center it applies to. And then you want to make sure that this information is communicated, that people are actually taking care of this. So you can require sign-offs on these documents. You can, again, assign it by role. You can assign it by site. Say I want all my Cedar Cancer Center people, it applies to just them. And then you can put in a sign-off message, and you can then track as people get it done, who has signed off and when. And you can send reminders if you need to via a task assignment, those types of things, so that you're tracking, you're overviewing, but you're also communicating and keeping the departmental processes, procedures transparent and well-informed to everyone. Another thing, like I mentioned with machine log, this is another place where you can enter things that you wish to track and communicate with your department. If a Linux down, of course, that could be a therapist that finds that out in the morning, needs to communicate that with physicists, need to communicate with a vendor. Those types of things can all be created in here and tracked within here to make sure things are happening. There's lots of customization features. The fields that you see on this screen have been chosen to be there, and I'll show you that momentarily. You can mark whether the machine is down, if it is in fact down, and then it will start tracking how long that machine is down for. Again, this is one of those things that you can track, that can be analyzed later, something that you can review, bring up with your vendor if you think it's taking too long, or it's a group task that you want to track in machine log. You can track the duration it takes people to get things done here. It's all tracked within QA Pilot here. And again, another place where you can add an attachment. If it's your actual Linux that's down, you may have some logs that you need to attach, or maybe when it gets fixed and you're going to be signing off on this, you need to attach the service record, proof that any QA related to the servicing is done. You can add those attachments here. It's all good. And see, you can do things like search similar logs once you have created, once you create something once, there are certain features here that you can then go look at and say, well, can I search for similar logs based on details that I've put in here? I haven't put any details, so there's nothing to search on at this point. But that again, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel every single time. We have added things in QA Pilot with Pips Pro Autopilot that will sort of, I've done these types of things before, I can log something similarly. It's also a way for you, again, process improvement. How many times do we have these issues? When you can look at similar logs, that starts to give you some useful information, and then you can make decisions based on data that you have collected. Now, I also mentioned that you can analyze by specific tests, for example. What do a specific type of test, and that one's new, so let's not do that. So electron output constancy, what device are you using? Again, we said we're vendor neutral. You'll see that there's the Sun Daily QA3 as well as our beam checker in here. And I want to compare flatness. I want to compare it across multiple sites. This is a place where you'd be able to do that. As you start collecting that data, it's available here. Now, the last thing I really want to go over is the meat and potatoes of the software. That to get started with the software, you're going to spend a fair amount of time in the manage section, because this is where all those good things, all those fields for machine logs, all the schedules that are assigned to specific sites and Linux is created here. As software as a service, it is offered per LINAC. So we, as your providers, set those up in the background, but then you, of course, can do some things to modify your sites or edit the users associated with your site. Your machines, once we create the machine for you, you want to go in here, because this is where we put in some foundational information that help you with the TG51 spreadsheets, which are also built into the software. What energies are you doing? How are you going to perform your Photon TG51, SAD or SSD? These are the things that you're going, foundational to your QA, performing the QA that you do, and you can put that information here. Again, an opportunity to add a document. Then when you have, you can also create custom machine types like I did here. I added a Philips ultrasound, or you want to specify that it's an MR LINAC versus a traditional C-arm LINAC, for example. You can add color coding to those. You'll see how this plays out in the templates in a moment. Users, again, we allow you to create some specific types of user roles. Here we created some custom ones. I created a resident. You would like to call people by the title that they have within your organization. If you have residents, they're physics residents, they're going to be performing some QA and learning about that. But, as the chief physicist, you probably don't want them changing baselines or signing off on that QA. So the resident will be tied to a matching core role, say a therapist, where they can perform the QA, but they cannot adjust those baselines or sign off on QA, right? You want to make sure that people have the right level of authority within the system. Measurement devices, of course, this is where you're talking about your ion chambers, your electrometers, but you can also put in your software like Pips Pro that you may be using, your daily QA devices. And that is wonderful. And again, one of the nice things here is we can sort these things, so you can, of course, see what really matters to you very quickly. Shame on me. I need to do there is an overdue event here. What is my overdue event? You can look at the tasks that have been assigned here. It's the send in for calibration. what is related to that. And there's a lot of information in the devices, especially the ion chambers and electrometers. The ion chambers, are you using these for TG51? And if yes, we do ask for a bit more information in order to be able to, again, feed it into the TG51 worksheets that are built into the system. There are less fields for you to have to complete by doing that. We also allow you to create some custom fields, which will then appear in the device, the measurement devices as you're creating them, energy, any type of thing that you may need that you want, and you can assign it as required or not required to be displayed for those things. Now here, as I mentioned a lot about QA templates. So you'll see I've created a whole bunch of them because, of course, I like to play in my software, but we've taken some steps to really make this a lot easier for people, in that hopefully you can create, or if you choose to create more of a master template that will cover both your variants at site A and your electives at site B. But they may have different accessories. You can still create one sort of mega template, if you will, and then we allow you to make certain tests, individual tests or individual groups of tests, as not applicable when they are assigned to machines. So let's show you a little bit about that. Notice we also include some presets for HDR. And again, those TG51 worksheets that I mentioned. And then we have a bunch of other presets here. Notice that presets, you can view the tests that are included in there. Just to get a short rundown, here's the list of tests that are included in this template. You can also copy these. You do not want to use the preset as your QA schedule. You want to copy those, give them a specific name that applies to whatever machine type of QA, whatever type of nomenclature you wish to give this, and to apply it to certain types of devices. In this case, we apply it to CBCT and LINAC. So modifying these is when you get to, again, you want to define the device types it applies to. Other is also sometimes important because custom tests may be created to cover other types of Linux. And again, if you're thinking about that, monolithic or my main core master QA template, tests are available by device type, so other really opens it up and makes you see everything that's more that has been created. Once you've made decisions about here, if you've given it a description you want, you continue. And here is, well, there we go. On the left, you have the available tests. So QA Pilot started with the idea of TG142 and all those tables 1 through 6 of what needs to be performed and how often it needs to be performed, what QA needs to be performed and what. So we started with that, but we've added so much more since then. As you can see, we have HDR, we have some proton stuff, we have some gamma knife tests, we have variant VMAT tests in here. We have anything that you create as a custom test will appear here and then be selectable for your template that you are creating. So everything here on the right is the items that we have already chosen. I'm going to pick one just because it's not applicable, but it's just to show you. So you can either choose on the level of this group of tests. Let's see if there's more than one. By a group of tests, which in this case is just one, or select an individual test. Once I have selected it, you'll see that it hits the bottom of my list on the right. And then from there, if I want to reorganize it according to the workflow in my clinic, you can do that. You can do that for groups of tests or individual tests. And if I'm going to deselect it, then it's going to, we can remove this section and it won't appear on any template. Super simple, great way to do it. We have built in so many tests. And like I said, as you build out any custom tests, they will be here available for selection in available tests as well. So again, not reinventing the wheel every time you want to do something. Now let's spend a quick minute or two in the custom tests, because this is really key to our product as well. You do not have to, what do I want to say? You are not limited in the idea of I can create a text field or a simple pass-fail test. And we're going down to my little playground here. As you can see, I've got lots of tests. They're identified here by the test type. You can also create tables. So if I want to add a test, you can choose whether you want a single value, average, sum, standard deviation, magnitude, difference, a product. If I'm going to do an average, then you get your units. If I'm going back if I want to do a ratio test, again, numerators, denominators. Do I want to use a common denominator? Do I want to average my numerators? If I want to do a deviation test, again, what am I going to use a common nominal value? Am I going to average these things? Be able to give it a variety of labels and units. These things are really important. Another one that comes in really handy, especially if you want to bring in a report or display a report from a particular QA device, within your QA template, you can use this file attachment. Because again, it can be an image or it can be a file. And you can choose to render it inline, which means it'll show up in your schedule, or you click no and it'll be a thumbnail that you can click on in order to view it. So a great way to incorporate a variety of data, images, other things that document the QA that you are performing. So we're going to get out of this one for now. And I'm going to talk a little bit about adding numeric tables. So again, sometimes you have a test where you're putting in one or two values, but in order to get you away from having to have Excel spreadsheets for everything, we are building more and more formulaic and sort of table type of data. So you define your columns, you define your rows, you give them test type. And that's my indication I'm running long, so we're going to wrap this up very soon here. Average, sum, deviation. What am I doing here? What do I want to do? Number of rows and columns that you want, and you get a little preview button. Now I haven't done anything here, so we're going to go back, and I'll show you a couple, because that's a nice thing here when you're in the custom test creation, that you can preview the things that you've created before you apply them to something. So if I wanted to do a common deviation test, then I'm going to preview it over here. I'm looking for, so let's look at one of our tables that we've created. So again, here we have, and you can perform multiple functions on the same data table, if you will. So here we're summing the rows. We're going to average the columns. We're going to do a difference between the reference and the DMLC, the dynamic leaf, so on and so forth. So there's a variety of things that we've done here. Do I like the way I've got this presented? Is this the information I want? If so, I've got it. Otherwise, I can go in and revise it and modify it. So last thing on the list, just to show you machine log. You can track your contact information for your various vendors here. You can configure your rooms, which means you can really configure items that you want to track via a site or via a particular LINAC. Like the beam checker is assigned to this particular LINAC, but there may be other things like your physics server may be assigned to a site instead of just a LINAC. The categories, again, these are things that you want to be able to show as selectable within the machine log when you're creating them. And then you have custom fields that you can create. I've created a few here, but any type of thing. You can also create custom statuses. So we had opened and resolved originally. I added it in process. It can be anything really based on what you and your departmental needs are. So I think that's where I'm going to wrap it up, except to tell you that with the help, it is also an online wiki, which is awesome. You can go in, you can search any of the articles within the website here. To get assistance in how to use anything. There are wonderful, detailed, full instructions in here, and it's a whole lot less cumbersome than having a hard copy user manual, which is lovely. So with that, I'm going to go back over to the presentation here and just ask if there's anyone who has any questions. Oops. If you have any questions, now's the time. And I'll take a quick look before signing off, of course. And then in the meantime, I also want to tell you that there's a variety of ways to get a hold of us. I absolutely invite you to go to our website, check out what's coming up for webinars, see what recorded webinars are there. I encourage you to reach out to your sales representative or myself with additional questions, or to schedule a truly in-depth webinar where you can ask lots of questions and see things in more detail. Let me take a quick minute here to see if there are any questions. I'm not seeing anything, so I either did a great job, or I've covered everything you want, or you're not sure what you need to ask. So again, I invite you to go to our website. I invite you to contact us. And with that, I wish you all a wonderful, wonderful day and wish you all the best. Take care. Bye-bye.